So in the example of you mentioned art in the real world and creating NFTs, I've seen situations where there is value to the NFT, and it's just a picture of the art sometimes. Um, are you starting to see that where having the digital or the ownership of that image um, online, so to say, right, or in the virtual world, can be separated ultimately from the physical? So when you do Fusion NFTs, are they always stapled? Will they eventually trade separately? Because I've seen that happen in other situations
Right.
where someone buys a digital copy and a physical copy, and they come as one package, but they're separable, and they end up selling them separately. And they each have different value. And in this particular example, the virtual piece had more value than the physical piece when it traded in the secondary market, partly because of the hype. Um, how do you see that sort of playing out?
Yeah. So again, Neil, I think it's actually very important to really identify, what exactly you are buying or selling. So in the example that you've just given, um, it is not so much about how the NFT or the physical art piece can be separated. It is really identifying what exactly is the NFT, right? Because if the NFT, for example, for us when we make Fusion NFTs, the Fusion NFTs actually represent the legal title to the physical asset. Okay, so it's kind of like, oh, I want to buy this house, and therefore I'm holding on to its title deeds. So they can never be separated because they're not two different things. Because the title deed is the ownership to that house, right? It's to tell the whole world and to tell the courts to go to a legal situation and say, look, this belongs to me because I own the title deed. So they can never be separated. Now, in the situation that you just described, it's kind of slightly different because they are not creating an NFT that represents the legal ownership title. They are creating an NFT that is actually a digital image of the physical art piece. But again, like I mentioned earlier, if you really are creating a NFT of a digital art piece, then you need to make sure that the license to that digital art piece must be incorporated into the NFT before it is of any value, because otherwise it is really just a link, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make. Now, one very good example, which is very similar to what you've just mentioned, is that recently, just over the weekend, we actually partnered with Spink and Sons. This is like an auction house in England that was originated in England in the 1600s, right? So they're very reputable. They wanted to get into NFTs for the longest time, but they couldn't wrap their heads around what exactly am I selling when I sell the NFT. And that's a common problem, right? Because of 90% of the non-crypto world cannot get into this crypto space because they don't know what is going on. Why would people pay something so much money for something of no value? So eventually they found us and they realized what we were doing and it made sense to them. So this is what they did. They actually had a client that recently managed to dig up from their farmland, I think, a gold coin that was minted in the 1200s. Okay, so very, very valuable. Apparently, there were originally only 6 in the world. This was the 7th one that was found. Okay, and obviously over the weekend they did an auction. It was sold for £540,000 because it's actually a very valuable gold coin. Now they came to us, and instead of asking us to do a Fusion NFT because they're still struggling with the link and the digital ownership title thing, they said, why don't we create a video of that gold coin, okay, with a little bit of a bit of special effects, and mint that into an NFT, right? So we had a very, very deep discussion with them. What we did was that we actually, number one, made sure that the intellectual property of that video was first transferred to our company so that we can then have the authority to mint the NFT. When we minted the NFT, we actually attached into the NFT. Okay, this is not a separate document. It's actually something you can find on the blockchain in the NFT. a license that gave the NFT holder both the private and the commercial license to do anything they want with the video and with every screen image or every screen of or every page of the video or every frame of the video. Sorry. So that actually has real value, right? Because this coin is very rare, and if they have that video and they have the commercial rights to it technically speaking, they can take any frame. Go to a street fashion and say, hey, why don't we work together? I give you a license to print this image on your T-shirt, and we sell it, and then I will get some kind of license fee. Now, that is something of value. So eventually, that NFT, which is the hybrid NFT that we created with that physical gold coin, was sold separately. It was intended to be sold separately, was auctioned separately, and the hybrid NFT eventually got a bid price of 18,000 pounds. Right? So now that is something of value. And that's what we are about. And that's what we want to create for the community and for the public or for the collectors to collect. Not something that is of no value. I think that's a very good example of how working with a very reputable auction house that's very, very concerned about creating real value for its collectors. Because look, its reputation will be completely destroyed if the guy buys the NFT and realizes he got nothing for it, right? So that's something that that we're very, very focused on, and it's something that we feel accountable to our NFT holders for.